you don't have to worry about having somewhere to sleep at night. You don't have to worry about where, your next meal is going to be, or what business you're going to stay behind, or what park you're going to pitch a tent. The mission is somewhere stable to be.
All right. So it's just us talking here. Nobody's paying attention. The 4 people that watch our show, they already know us all anyways. So here we are, Mission Live. I am talking with Misty. And Misty, you have been with the Gospel Rescue Mission now for how long?
On the 22nd, it'll be 13 months.
13 months. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions along the way if at any point in time, because we are totally live here. If anything you feel like you're just going, I'm not comfortable answering that question, you feel free to tell me. What's your political voting? No, okay. I don't care what your politics are. Hey, so how long have you lived in Grants Pass?
My entire life.
Your entire life.
Yep.
So how did you find yourself homeless? I mean, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Poor lifestyle decisions. I used for 8 years, ended up homeless.
When did you start using?
Started using October 2013.
Wow. It's funny because I when I talk to people who use drugs or have used drugs, they tend to know dates really, really well. So October of 2013?
Yep.
And you never used before that?
Nope.
No. And what was going on in your life then that made that make sense?
Ultimately, I think it was my sister passing that kind of was the icing on the cake for me.
Okay.
She was 19 and had leukemia, and I had never got to know her whole life. Last time I saw her, she was a year old. So,
wow.
I think that was what sent me over the edge.
Just figuring out, just dealing with grief.
Yep.
Yeah. I got to think that a lot of folks that come to find themselves homeless, I think that grief and not knowing how to work through all that stuff is some of the start down that road. Yeah. So what happened? I mean, you start using, and then what?
It was just an occasional thing that just ultimately ended up an all the time thing.
It's being a maintenance thing, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So how old were you at the point in time when you became homeless?
I've been homeless the last few years. 4 years, so I'm 43 now, so.
Okay. Probably in your late 30s?
Yeah.
Okay. And so homeless for you, I mean, what did that look like?
In the beginning, it was, anywhere in town you can sleep, and then I ended up Devil's Slide.
Devil's Slide.
Yeah, good old Devil's Slide.
Okay.
And I was there for almost a year, because it's away from town. You don't have to move day to day, and, had our own little spot set up. Yeah. It was just almost like a house.
Yeah. I remember last time I hiked up past there, you hear gunshots going off around there, and I got really nervous because you weren't sure if they were kind of coming towards you or around you.
Right.
Because there's a popular hiking trail by there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you were homeless for 4 years. I mean, was it safe out there? Did you feel like you were in a good spot?
I mean, it was all right.
All right.
I mean, there, neighboring people, that were camping, in other areas had their own little drama or whatever. But, I just pretty much stayed to myself and came to town when I needed to, and then got to the point where I couldn't even come to town because I was so sick.
Right. So you were getting sick because?
I was using, I'm diabetic. I'd already lost my middle toe in 2017. Lost bone out of my second toe a couple years later, and then ultimately from living up Devil's Slide, I lost the rest of my toes on my left foot.
Really hard to manage diabetes while you're homeless, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon thing for us to run into at the mission is people who are struggling with diabetes. Just because it's hard to manage. You can't,
right.
Where are you going to get insulin?
Right.
And how are you going to manage your blood sugar from out there? And you're probably not eating the best stuff because it's prepackaged. It's You got nothing to cook with, really. I mean, you
had
know,
our
a
own-
little bit.
We had our own little kitchen
Camp
setup.
cook, yeah.
So we were eating pretty good, but it still, wasn't the best. Like towards the end, I was filtering rainwater because I didn't have any water to drink with or cook with. So
Wow. So, so what finally made you decide that you'd try and check into the Gospel Rescue
well,
Mission?
for 2 weeks, I literally was laying there ready to die. I would only get up to let my dog out and then bring her back in, and she stayed pretty much next to me the whole time. And then finally, the Sunday before Christmas, something told me that I just needed to find a way to town. So she drugged me up the trails because I was so weak I couldn't even get up the trails.
Wow.
And then I came to town, stayed at a friend's house for a few days because I didn't want to spend Christmas in the hospital.
Yeah.
I'd already been there before. So on the 30th of December of 2020, I finally went to the hospital, and the doctors told me, because my foot was so bad, that he told me that he was going to take my whole foot.
Wow.
And my heart was failing. My heart was only functioning at 15 to 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot.
It was a lot. So, so you're there. Where'd the idea of coming into the mission come from?
They didn't have any place for me to go to do my antibiotic rehab or whatever. So then and I'd already been to the mission a couple years before this.
Okay.
And so I already told them the check-in process or whatever. And the hospital pretty much dropped me off on the women's doorstep on January 22nd.
Gotcha. Oh, boy. So you've been at the mission before. You kind of had an idea of what it was going to be like. And what was your stay like?
Well, my first experience wasn't very good. I only stayed 15 days.
Okay.
And obviously we've gone through, it was a different coordinator then.
Okay.
And then when I got here this time, Shauna was absolutely amazing. She helped get everything that I needed to feel comfortable and reassured, that I could do it. So then it was pretty good.
Okay.
It's been pretty good.
All right, now here's the juicy spot, because we are totally live, right?
Right.
You could just say anything. So you can just say all the bad stuff about the mission, how horrible it is. Go.
I can't think of anything that's bad.
I mean,
I've been at the mission for almost 13 months now.
Yeah.
And it's, obviously I'm still here.
yeah.
Obviously the program's working. It only works if you're willing to make it work. Everybody's program is different, and if you're making the goals to get to where you want to be, then it's not that hard to be there.
So tell me about a day in your life here at the mission now. I mean, you do a lot of different tasks while you're here. What are some of those?
I'm an RA, so I'm responsible for the house when
An RA is a resident assistant,
Yep.
right? Okay.
I
so-
answer the phones.
Yeah.
When people come in to, who are interested in checking in, tell them the program, that we're not just a bed, we're a working mission, run through the daily routine. We get up at 5:30, breakfast, morning chapel, chores, afternoon chores, evening chapel,
You tell them it's super, super hard. Don't even try to come in, right?
No.
No.
No, I just try to be thorough with, the program. And like one of our residents had called from a motel, and I had told her that I would call her right back to let her know, what we could do to help her. And she was surprised that I called her back within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's good. Well, we try and make it a welcoming thing. We try and make, to try and engage. And really, it's people like you that are coming in and doing well that we want to have, right there at the front door for other people who are maybe coming in and a little nervous, a little afraid, because you remember what it was like being a little nervous and afraid, huh?
oh, yeah.
So, well, in addition to your work as an RA, you've been helping out at our thrift store?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I now open it on Saturday mornings by myself.
By yourself?
Yep.
Okay, so that means that you handle, what's that? I mean, what's that entail?
That means unlocking the doors, getting the money out of the safe, counting it, putting it in the till, unlocking the front doors, pretty much getting the store ready for the day.
Right. right. I mean, and from what I hear from Connie and everybody involved, they are like just super. Connie and Glenn are both super pleased with, they have the confidence they can kind of go, I can rest because I have somebody that I can trust right there that does a good job.
And I enjoy working at the store. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's nice to tell my story and like give other people who are going through struggles the hope that they can make a difference too.
Yeah.
So
At the store, we see a lot of people who maybe they're not ready to check in, but they might need some clothes either for free or for cheap or something, and
Right.
so they come into one of our stores, and a lot of times it's a kind of first point of contact, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever see people that you camped with?
I've seen a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the people that I used to talk to before are proud that I've done the change that I've made, and
Yeah.
I just got my 1-year coin at Celebrate Recovery last week. So
Good job. All right. That is awesome, man. 1 year sobriety. That's fantastic. There are so many people that want to just say, oh, these people are all mentally ill and drug addicts, and therefore they can never make it. They can never make it without a government run this or a government run that. And we're going, you know what? No. I mean, I can imagine being a little depressed if I was stuck out there. I would imagine having some pretty significant anxiety
Right.
if I was out there. All of those are considered mental illness, right? I would imagine that, maybe if you add methamphetamine on top of that and, maybe some marijuana from time to time, I've got a pretty good amount of paranoia and maybe some schizophrenia a little bit that I'm struggling with, or whatever. And yet we see people come out of that, working their way out of that when they get clean, when they get sober, when they get good nutrition, when they're seeing their doctors regularly.
Yep.
And that's just fantastic. You are a fantastic story. And so what do you see next for Misty?
Right now I'm just focusing on a lot of different health stuff.
Okay.
Still going.
Still working on getting health kind of dialed in?
Yep. And then from there we'll start working on employment and whatnot. So
Okay.
baby steps.
Yep. But baby steps, but real steps,
Yep.
right? They're real steps forward. Has anything been, have we asked you anything that you thought was just too hard and I needed to say no or anything?
No, it's not that hard to be at the mission. I mean, it's just every chore that we do is something that you would do in your own house anyways.
Yeah.
So.
So when we made you swim through the moat and then go over the obstacle course and then, go under the live fire range and everything like that to get into the front door because of all of the barriers that we put up at the front door, right? You got through all of that, right? Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, I just, my hope is that, a story like yours becomes a story for that same kind of story for other people because they heard your story.
Right.
And I hope that, it would begin to change the narrative because there's just so many people that want to make us into something. They want to share this story about us like we're being unreasonable in some way. And I'm telling you, you can say, if I'm being unreasonable, tell me.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not that hard of a place to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're friends. I don't, it's not like, I'm not going to sit there and go, up. Okay, she said the wrong thing. Let's get her out of here, right?
Nope, not at all.
Okay. Well, that's the way I feel. And we're always encouraged to see each other and just hear. I love to hear what you're doing. I'm sure that Shauna is going to love to watch this and see what you're doing there. And now, with Monica as well at the helm, everybody's cheering you on. If there was some way that that our viewers could pray for you, is there anything in particular that you'd like, any prayer that you'd like to ask for?
Just continued strength, I guess. Like Shauna told me when we first met to pick a word that would best describe my year, and I chose the word restore. And restore has been every day. There's something, whether it's my health or friendships or relationships with my family, my grandparents, my mom, my kids. Every day it's getting more of, a stronger thing. So
You know, we was talking with John Sled a while back, one of our board members, and he had used this term that I really like, that is homefullness. You know, this idea that we restore family and relationships, and that sense of the richness that comes from having those relationships restored. So what a cool thing! What a great word, restore.
right.
I love that. So thank you for sharing that. Well, if you're somebody, you know, I mean, let's just imagine for a minute that somebody's watching this thing and they're going, I don't know, man, I'm scared. I'm scared. They're religious. They're a bunch of religious crazies there. What might you say to somebody?
It doesn't hurt to try. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
what more do you have to lose? Just, you know, take that time to just, you know, make it work. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that bad of a place to be.
No, it's not. I mean, in spite of the fact that we're a bunch of crazy religious nuts and all that kind of stuff, right?
We're all one big family.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You know, it's been made to this idea of a monster, but when you finally get up to it and you're in and you work through it and you're with us a little bit, you start finding out, hey, you know what? Those folks are pretty cool.